You've heard me talk a lot about garden consultations, but you've probably wondered, what exactly is a garden consult? Well, just the other day, I went on 2 garden consultations, and I thought I'd use these appointments and visits to show you what a consult includes. So the first step, of course, is just simply booking the appointment. This can happen on your website, online, it can happen through text or a phone call, and you just simply settle on the time and the place where you're going to meet up with your client. These happen in all kinds of different places. You can have a garden consultation in a residence, in the backyard, the front yard, the side yard. You might have a garden consultation in a community space like a park, a public community area, a hospital, or a school. You might also have a garden consultation with a local business. This could be in a business park or even just small businesses like restaurants, yoga studios. Any place might hire you to book a garden consult. Once the consultation is booked, it's now time to pack up your bag and head out to the meeting. Now, packing up your garden consult bag is pretty important. You want to have all the essentials there because once you get on site, you definitely don't want to be missing a thing. The most important thing to remember to bring along on a garden consult is a measuring tape. This is going to help you start to understand how big the space is that you'll be working in, and you'll start to be able to get some real numbers that you can use and share with your client. Beyond the measuring tape, you want to bring a notebook and a pen. I personally love bringing an iPad. I use this to take pictures and then also draw designs on top of those photos so the client can really start to see what the garden is going to look like. It's also great if you can bring some samples of gardens that you've done or pictures of gardens that you'd like your client to look at. This allows them to start to get a feel for what they're interested in and what piques their excitement about the garden. For me, I like to bring along a printout portfolio of gardens that my company has created, and then I allow the client to look through this as we're walking around their space. This enables me to start conversations with them and hear from them what they prefer, what they dislike, and just get a better sense of what they're thinking in terms of the garden that we'll create together. I also like to bring along some informational material. For me, I bring a 52 harvests a year notebook. In this case, I have one that I created for the gardens here in Nashville. This allows the client to know what's possible for them every month of the year and gives them a really good sense of what they're going to be planting and harvesting each month once their garden. I might give these materials to the client right away when I get there so that they can be looking at this while I start measuring. As soon as we're ready to start measuring, we're going to first locate where south is in terms of their landscape. We're also going to note any tall structures like where the house is, where trees might be, anything that might obscure the light or interrupt the growth of the garden. Once we've located south, it's time to pull out the measuring tape and get real numbers. I'll usually have the client to help me on this one because we're often measuring some pretty large spaces. We'll use the measuring tape to find the length and the width of the space, and then I'll start to get their preferences, like how big they want their pathways to be, how close they want to be to their neighbors or to the fence or the tree line. We also want to find out how they already use this space. Where are the natural walking paths? Do they come out this door often? Do they ever look out that window? I'm trying to get as much information from the client as possible to know how they use this space already. This really informs me to know how we can develop the kitchen garden so that it just flows into their already everyday traffic patterns and really fits into their existing landscape. The last place you want to put a kitchen garden is way outside of their normal everyday traffic patterns. That's pretty much going to ensure that they'll use the garden less and less instead of more and more. As I measure, we'll talk about their preferences, and then it's time to start talking options. For this, I'll pull out my iPad, take some photos, and either draw it on the iPad or just on a piece of paper. I'll start to sketch out different layout options that I can come up with based on the parameters and the limitations that we have in their space. I generally try to give the client 3 to 4 options so they're not just stuck with one idea, and they really feel like they got to have a say in what we end up doing in their garden space. We talk about the pros and the cons of each different design, and then really weigh out the distinctions and the differences so they can make an informed decision about which design feels best for them. Yesterday was a fun experience. I had drawn out 3 or 4 designs, and we were discussing the pros and cons of each. When I finally brought out that 4th option, my client's face lit up and she said, "That's it." That's the one. And this was a good reminder that it often takes 3 or 4 iterations to get to something that really excites and encourages your client to go for it. In the end, we wrap up by discussing next steps. I let them know some good ballpark numbers of how much a garden may cost. I let them know how soon I can get them a formal design and an estimate, and then we make plans to follow up from there. Talking about dates in terms of how far in the future we might be able to get this project completed, talking a little bit about the money, and then also talking about the logistics, who's going to install this garden, who will maintain it, and their wishes for how they're going to use this garden in the days and months to come. I love to finish up the consult by gifting them one of my books, either Kitchen Garden Revival or Leaves, Roots, and Fruit. This hopefully encourages them to know that I'm not just leaving them from the consult, but that I'm going to be with them by their side all along their journey to becoming a gardener. These books will be there to keep them informed, and then I'll be there as their consultant to keep them growing. So if you've ever wondered what a garden consultation looks like, I hope you have a much better idea after joining me on the 2 consults I just went on this week. Doing garden consults is one of my favorite things. I love dreaming and planning up gardens with people who are excited to make the garden a big part of their everyday life. When you go on these consults, you get to remove the doubt and the confusion and overwhelm, and really simplify the process for a new gardener or someone who's ready to take their garden to the next level. And that's just a gift and a service that more and more people are looking for, and something that you can provide as a garden expert. If you love this idea of garden consulting, then you've got to check out Gardenary's Consultant Certification Program. You can learn more about it below this video, and be sure to apply and be part of our upcoming program. That's happening very soon. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.